Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in London, Ollie Barrett. Hi, Ollie.
Hello, Tanvi. It's 12:30 p.m. here in London, 1:30 p.m. across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Putin in Vietnam will be live in a key constituency in the UK election, and live to Berlin too to hear about Euro 2024 highs and lows so far. First, the headlines.
Vladimir Putin says Moscow and Hanoi can build reliable security architecture in the Asia-Pacific region, including bilateral cooperation on oil and gas, nuclear science and education. European Union approves 14th package of sanctions against Russia over its conflict in Ukraine, targeting LNG for the first time. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch development projects in the Kashmir Valley today to lead the International Day of Yoga celebrations in Srinagar on Friday. So a day after signing mutual defense agreement with North Korea, Russia's President Vladimir Putin touched down in Vietnam early on Thursday for talks with the country's communist leaders on the final stop of his two-nation tour of Asia. Putin was welcomed in Hanoi with a 21-gun salute during a military ceremony on Thursday, as he was praised by one of the country's top leaders. Vietnamese President To Lam said that Vietnam wants to boost ties with Russia.
Our two nations agreed to research and expand cooperation in the fields of alternative sources of energy and clean energy, contributing to green transformation and sustainable development.
Russia and Vietnam signed over 10 agreements, including bilateral cooperation in sectors like oil and gas, nuclear science and education. In a briefing with Vietnamese President To Lam, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Russia was keen to partner with the Southeast Asian country in the fields of energy and security. Putin said Moscow and Hanoi are interested in building a reliable security architecture in the Asia-Pacific region. He also said that Russian companies were ready to invest in liquefied natural gas projects in Vietnam.
Our countries firmly uphold the principles of supremacy of international law, sovereignty, non-interference in the internal affairs of other states. They coordinate efforts on key multilateral platforms, including the UN, as well as within the framework of Russian-ASEAN dialogue and at East Asian Summit.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un earlier gifted Russian President Vladimir Putin a pair of Pangzan dogs, a local breed, during his state visit. Pangzan are a breed of hunting dogs native to a region in the northern part of North Korea. The two leaders bonded over their love for animals during the meeting. The two leaders also took turns to drive each other around in a Russian-built Urus limousine, one President Putin presented Kim Jong-un as a gift. And now DD India's Dasha Chernishova joins us live from Moscow on Putin's two-day trip to North Korea and Vietnam. Dasha, how far has Putin's Hanoi trip been successful in terms of outcomes?
Well, as we are hearing from the representatives of both countries, it was indeed a very successful trip in trying to bridge and further improve the relations between the two countries. We understand that several documents have been signed as a result of this trip, with Vladimir Putin saying that the Russian companies were ready to invest more into the liquefied natural gas projects with Vietnam. We also have heard that there will be cooperation in a number of other areas, including the nuclear center research construction being accelerated in Vietnam with the participation of the Russian specialists. We also are hearing that the two countries have managed to bring more of their trade into the national currencies, something which is very important for Russia that has been cut off from the SWIFT payment system. And the two countries are interested in further developing transport communications, especially when it comes to the transport corridor which connects Russia's Vladivostok with Vietnamese Ho Chi Minh. At the same time, the Vietnamese officials have all said that the Russian position in the world stage is improving. It is getting stronger and stronger, and that's why they are interested in tighter cooperation with Moscow. They will be increasing the cooperation in the area of security and defense, and also the two sides have managed to sign an agreement which under which these two countries are not going to enter any alliances that could jeopardize their independence or sovereignty. This is also important in light of Vladimir Putin's trip to North Korea, where he signed the comprehensive partnership agreement with Kim Jong-un, which provides for both of these states to come in to help one another if either state is attacked. So certainly a number of documents has been signed. But also, if you look at the prospect and the perspective, the Russian president has met with the graduates of the Russian or with Vietnamese graduates of the Russian universities. That means that he is interested in bringing more Vietnamese students to Russia, teaching them to ensure these sort of tighter bonds between the nations, because these are the highly trained specialists that are returning to Vietnam to further contribute to the growth of this fast-growing economy.
Okay. Dasha, how does the Kremlin view the latest round of sanctions targeting the Russian liquefied natural gas for the first time?
Well, any sanctions are regarded very negatively in Moscow, but Moscow doesn't seem to be surprised. This is the scenario that the Russian officials have been prepared for, and we understand that Moscow has been already turning to other markets and will only continue to do so. In the meantime, the Russian officials remind that sanctions have the sort of boomerang effect, which is always hurting back those who impose those sanctions. And with regard to that, they insist that it is the European primarily consumers that have sensed the effect of those sanctions most, because their energy has become more expensive as their countries are trying to not to use the energy imports from Russia.
Dasha Chernishova in Moscow, thank you for those updates. And on to the Israel conflict now, Israel-Hamas conflict. The sound of artillery fire rang out in southern Israel on Thursday, echoing across farmlands as smoke rose across the border in Gaza. Operations have resulted in the displacement of millions of people from other parts of the enclave. The Israeli military said on Wednesday forces were continuing their operations across the enclave, targeting militants and military infrastructure. And on to UK now. With exactly 2 weeks left for the general elections on July 4th, poll promises are being made by both the Labour Party and the Conservatives. Nigel Farage's Reform UK Party is also gearing up for the poll battle. My colleague Ollie Barrett is in London. He gives us more on the UK elections and other stories making headlines around the world. Ollie, what are Nigel Farage's political ambitions in this campaign?
Well, Tanvi, in this campaign, he hopes to become an MP for the first time by winning the seat of Clacton-on-Sea, which is an English seaside town. But he also claims his right-of-centre Reform UK party can become a genuine opposition force in British politics. He says this is an immigration election, and both Labour and the Conservatives have also got duelling plans on that issue as well. Well, DD India's Stuart Smith is in Clacton on the south coast of England for us now, joining us for more. And Stuart, you are in what is one of the most interesting constituencies to watch on July the 4th.
Interesting, because Nigel Farage will be going for an 8th attempt at becoming a lawmaker, but he's already made a huge impact on this election with his Reform Party, making it even harder for the Conservatives to gain votes, coming as they are from the right wing of where the Conservative Party lies, compared to Labour coming from the left, meaning that vote share is being squeezed. And with that, he's also saying that he would like to make this an election about the immigration to the UK, because he believes the Conservative Party are not doing enough. So the Conservatives being scrutinised on immigration, both from the Labour left and Reform in the right. As to whether he'll get a seat here, it seems to be an open question, with different polls suggesting vastly different things. Because Reform has never attempted to secure a seat here in Clacton before, and because Nigel Farage's popularity is massively based on his personality, it's hard to know how it will go. But if he does manage to secure a seat here, it doesn't necessarily mean Reform will succeed to the same degree across the whole of the country. The way the voting system here works means that even if Reform secures a huge amount of support, it may not translate into seats. But if Nigel Farage makes it into Parliament, a man with very strong opinions and great name recognition here in the UK after decades in politics, that will really shake up the Houses of Parliament. Nigel Farage has been speaking today. He says Rishi Sunak, the Conservative Prime Minister, hasn't got the guts to leave the European Court of Human Rights and stop the boats, and says that the leader of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, who most likely will be Prime Minister, loves all these international courts. So he's saying to voters that his Reform Party is the solution for those that can be for those that want a trusted person in charge of immigration in this country.
Stuart Smith in Clacton-on-Sea, thank you. Now, in France, the President, Emmanuel Macron, is promising to lower power bills, reduce inheritance tax and link pensions to inflation if his party wins snap parliamentary elections. Prime Minister Gabriel Attal claims the far right and the left would both be threats to the economy. Far-right leader Bardea is calling for budget sanity. The snap legislative election will take place in 2 rounds on June the 30th and July the 7th. EU countries have agreed a 14th package of sanctions against Russia, including a ban on transshipments of Russian liquefied natural gas, or LNG. The package is designed to raise the impact of existing sanctions by closing loopholes. EU companies will still be allowed to purchase Russian LNG, but they'll be prohibited from re-exporting it onwards to other countries. The approval had been delayed several times because of reservations voiced by several countries, including Hungary. Now, England players have been training ahead of their second group stage game at Euro 2024, which they have against Denmark later on. They face Denmark on Thursday in Frankfurt. Denmark are coming off a disappointing result in a 1-1 draw against the relative minnows Slovenia in their first game. England won their opening match against Serbia. Thousands of fans were at Berlin's fan zone on Wednesday to witness Germany's 2-0 victory over Hungary in their second Group A match at Euro 2024. However, organisers have been grappling with managing crowds outside stadiums ever since the matches began on June the 14th. And we can go live now to DD India's Trent Murray, who is in Berlin at the aforementioned fan zone. And Trent, what exactly are the difficulties around transport that some fans have been experiencing, and any chance they can be solved?
Yeah, Ollie, what we're hearing particularly is that this is an issue affecting England supporters, and that is really, I think, because of the fact England is based in a place called Gelsenkirchen. Now, if you haven't heard of it, that's fine. It's not really one of Germany's most well-known cities, and I think therein lies the problem. The transport infrastructure there not particularly as widespread and advanced as you might find in some of the other big cities. For that reason, we know the England supporters group is saying that they are dismayed by some of the transport problems. In fact, on Sunday night during the match against Serbia, we know that fans were left waiting on the platform for up to 3 hours, many even walking miles to try and get back to their hotels and other accommodation. Now, what the German organisers are saying is that they are working on the problem. They are aware that being a Sunday, there was some timetable issues. You would have thought they may have ironed out those problems before hosting a major international football tournament, but alas, that is where we're at. There is some hope that tonight there will be less of those problems because of the fact the game is in Frankfurt, but nevertheless, if there are England squad supporters trying to get back to that smaller city, Gelsenkirchen, well, they could experience some other problems. It's not just on the transport front, though, that we are seeing some bumps in the road, so to speak. Also, the weather continuing to cause problems. We know there were severe thunderstorms earlier this week, causing the fan zones in several cities to be closed. We are expecting some more bad weather later today. Organisers say they are going to close the roof tonight of the stadium in Frankfurt for that crucial England-Denmark game. Another two games we are watching out for, Serbia and Slovenia. They will kick off very shortly. And then later tonight, it will be Italy and Spain, fans from many of those countries here in Germany to cheer their squad on. Ollie.
Trent Murray in Berlin, thank you. Now, students in Uganda are being introduced to the ancient Indian practice of yoga. The mindfulness program is intended to help children there with their mental health. DD India's Leon Senyange reports from Kampala.
A Friday morning at the Sri Sahajanad school starts with this: the stretches, breath awareness, and then the lotus pose. The students say they are learning to let go of stress and anxiety.
I enjoyed the one when we were jogging, and with our eyes closed, it made me feel relaxed.
When we do this, it opens our lungs. Then when we say ha, ha, it makes us to focus more.
Shunya Mehta teaches the ancient Indian practice of yoga here. He says it is a perfect way for the students to experience mindfulness.
The energy of child is always bubbling. They're full of energy. And unless you don't channelize it, then they will end up doing whatever mischievous things they do in the class, or they'll start laughing, or they'll be distracted.
The session usually lasts 45 minutes, and the outcomes have been rewarding. School administrators here say the students are taking up their yoga sessions, and they are seeing an improvement in academics as well as a change in behavior. The school has now incorporated the sessions into its education curriculum.
When the children are taught to sit down, close your eyes, think about something, a child is getting mindful and is organizing our brains. So that is something that our children are missing in our schools.
And the teachers are getting involved too. The exercise offers them a perfect starter ahead of the day's schoolwork.
My body is not yet used to it, but I love the experience and I want to do this more. I wish we could have like 2 more sessions in a week. It would be interesting.
With the session already working here, Sunya is eager to spread the practice by introducing it to more schools. Leon Senyange in Kampala, reporting for DD India.
And by the looks of things, I need to get limbering up ahead of International Yoga Day tomorrow. Tanvi, back to you.
Yes, I have started practicing my asanas well in time, Ollie. Well, yes, the thread of yoga will bind countries and continents together tomorrow. And in this series, we now take you to Hong Kong, where access to yoga is becoming difficult for some because of the expensive yoga memberships. But a Hong Kong charity aims to reach yoga to those who cannot afford it or have special needs. It includes yoga therapy for breast cancer survivors and the elderly. Studies suggest that it can help people with cancer cope with symptoms and side effects. DD India's Laura Westbrook has more.
Sit straight, broader chest and shoulders open.
This is not your typical yoga class. Practitioners here are made up of pain patients and cancer survivors referred by a local hospital. They include Margaret Young, who was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2018. She underwent chemotherapy and surgery before recovering the following year.
After the surgery, it was hard to lift my arms and my mobility was much worse. I heard yoga could improve mobility. I think I'm diligent because I want to get better quickly and improve my mobility.
Originating in India, yoga has spread worldwide, and it's become very popular here. But memberships can run to hundreds of dollars a month. Yoga teacher Yoganath Andiyapan runs a yoga studio, as well as an NGO to bring yoga to those who might have trouble accessing it by offering free classes.
We bring the yoga as a form of therapy to elderly patients, pain patients, stroke patients, wheelchair patients, and also people who have mental health issues.
At a public pier on the city's waterfront, volunteers provide a free class for anyone whose monthly income is below $640, mostly attended by the city's foreign domestic workers. Hong Kong has almost 400,000 foreign domestic workers, mostly from the Philippines and Indonesia. They work 6 days a week, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of children as key contributors to many households. Here, come rain or shine, they are able to take an hour for themselves. Their work can be physical and the days long.
My employer and Delhi cannot walk. You always take care, put in a homo chair like that. We need to very strong. Big help the yoga for me because I'm very strong now.
But yoga is not just about the physical rewards.
We are away from our family, so sometimes we feel homesick to them, we miss them. Doing yoga is sometimes you don't feel your loneliness.
People are much more aware of yoga now, but this organization's founder hopes to bring the practice of yoga to more people in the community who need it. In Hong Kong, Laura Westbrook reporting for DD India.
And back in India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to lead the International Yoga Day celebrations from India's northern city of Srinagar. And he has reached Srinagar, in fact, today in his first visit to Jammu and Kashmir after assuming office for a third term. During his 2-day visit to the Union Territory, the Indian Prime Minister will participate in a youth event on Thursday evening. He will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of several development projects. He will also launch a competitiveness improvement in agriculture and allied sectors project. The Prime Minister will hand over appointment letters to 2,000 youths for various government services. And as we told you, on Friday, the Prime Minister will participate in an International Day of Yoga event in Srinagar. He will address a gathering on the occasion and take part in a common yoga protocol session. DD India's Jessica Taneja spoke to locals and tourists in Srinagar about the development of Jammu and Kashmir.
We thought like it was not safe, but after coming here, I think we feel pretty safe. Yeah, we can see the security every day on each and every point. So yeah, it's very safe for the tourists.
People are coming here and the government especially is helping us a lot. The development here is at its peak, I think.
And staying in the region, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with a delegation of sitting and former US lawmakers led by Michael McCaul in New Delhi earlier today. The delegation comprised the chair of the US House Committee on Foreign Affairs, Michael McCaul, and a former US House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi. The delegation was in India to meet Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, in Dharamshala yesterday. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is visiting Sri Lanka, where he met Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Dr. S. Jaishankar reviewed the progress made on various bilateral projects and initiatives and discussed the way forward for the cooperation, especially in power, energy, connectivity, port infrastructure, aviation, digital health, food security, education and tourism sectors. It is Minister Jaishankar's first bilateral visit after the formation of a new government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi in India for the third time. His visit reaffirms India's neighbourhood first policy and underlines India's continued commitment to Sri Lanka as its closest maritime neighbour and time-tested friend. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar handed over Maritime Rescue Coordination Centre and 154 houses constructed under the Government of India housing scheme to the Sri Lankan President, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. Other ministers and senior officials were also present at the ceremony in Colombo. And now we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Severe flooding inundated southern China after torrential rains lashed various cities across the region. A red flood warning signal has been issued, prompting an emergency plan from the authorities concerned. The floods have been potentially disrupting the lives of millions. 3 P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, also known as the Submarine Hunter, landed at the Pohang Naval Air Command in South Korea on Wednesday. The aircraft is capable of detecting and striking a submarine in the water while airborne. Through a new AI virtual reality program, students in the United Kingdom schools can now talk to Holocaust survivors even when they are no longer with them. The program, called Testimony 360, People and Places of the Holocaust, uses AI, artificial intelligence, to decide the meaning and theme of questions and then find the response from a huge database of pre-recorded answers. The film Mean Girls made its musical debut at the West End 20 years since the now cult classic came out. Actor Charlie Byrne is in the lead role of Caddy, a girl who moves from Kenya to the US and finds it hard to fit in at her new school. And back to the celebrations of the International Day of Yoga, this time from India. In the world-famous Kottakal Ayurveda Shala Ayurveda Hospital and Research Centre in India's southern state of Kerala, Ayurveda and yoga are intertwined in perfect harmony. Ayurveda Shala is also imparting yoga as a part of treatment to patients from foreign countries. Take a look. Yoga and Ayurveda have historically been closely related. They have evolved in harmony with each other since ancient times. Kottakal Ayurveda Shala uses yoga effectively in Ayurvedic treatment. Along with Ayurveda, yoga is very important in life as well, says Dr. P.M. Warrior, Managing Trustee of the Kottakal Ayurveda Shala.
Yoga at a practical realm has significant therapeutic capabilities in offering a better management to many diseases. The ultimate objective of applying the principles and practice of yoga is to beget an improved quality of physical, mental and social life.
Yoga has also been made mandatory as part of the treatment for those who come to the Ayurveda Shala for various diseases. A separate hall has also been arranged in the new block for this purpose.
So there are particular therapy for each and every category of patients in the yoga. So those particular therapy can be definitely adopted in addition to the Ayurvedic therapy. So what I mean to say is, here we have 2 sessions in the morning and in the evening. Whoever is required for the yoga therapy, we refer those patients to that particular specialist and they do the yoga therapy.
Yoga therapy, according to each disease, is given under the guidance of special trainers. Training is held for 1 hour a day. In addition to various states of India, patients from foreign countries, including the United States, are also practicing yoga as part of their treatment.
When I do the practice, everything is feeling relaxed, and also any pain, I'm not having to worry during the exercises. I attend daily yoga sessions and it has been very helpful. Yoga is part of the whole healing process, and here it feels like, the ailments we come here for is completely addressed by a combination of good food, good treatment and good yoga.
On June 21st, as the 10th International Day of Yoga approaches, Kottakal Ayurveda Shala is moving forward, drawing more strength from yoga in the field of treatment. With Hari Kumar from Malappuram, Kerala, Tanvi Taneja for DD India. So if you haven't practiced yoga yet, well, this is the time of the year to get inspired. That's all for this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. So that's it in this broadcast. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.